Benecash is really coming together of a range of institutions or stakeholders that are looking at how to promote the digitalization of what are often cash payments today. Clearly, moving from often cash to electronic payment has an efficiency and a transparency, a lower cost, but it also offers a much greater potential outreach to many people at a much lower transaction cost. Payments are a very big part of needs of people, and it's often a beginning point we think, for a trajectory for other financial services. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think the financial inclusion comes in. We think of that in terms of everything from governments making benefits payments, whether conditional cash transfers or ordinary payments and benefits to people, or small producers, for example, farmers or others. How can they be paid other than just through cash? We've seen the potential of doing that through mobile payments and other platforms. The same would be true of small distributors. If you think of a shop getting its bread delivered, how do they pay for that? Say everything is still in cash. Perhaps what's most exciting to many of us who are thinking beyond the payments platform and integrating mobile platforms into today's banking system that exists, other platforms for payments, is the opportunity with this to perhaps have a first contact where a person has the ability to store some value. It may be a starting point for many people to having what could be, the appropriate for them type of bank account or transaction account, if we think of it that way. I think it may free them up to spend more time with people on either the understanding or developing the products that are needed on financial education or other services they provide that adds value, than on carrying and collecting cash. I think a lot of time is spent on the mechanics, and what is very costly in time and maybe not the best use of the time of a relationship manager any more than it is if bankers run around with cash and each time they delivered a loan to a client. Mm-hmm. None of it makes sense. What was critical about the way you handed cash to people the first time or received payments physically? And if that's still critical for you, then that might be your business model. If it was just the hook that they had to wait there in a circle for you to arrive every at 3:00 right. on Tuesday to give you cash or get cash, then maybe like any of us, you'll have to find something that's more compelling to the client and how they use their time and what value you deliver. Or it's a good test of the value you bring to your clients, frankly. I actually think that the onus is on ensuring that your client still feels that you bring them value, as well-meaning as anyone can be. If the client is a captive market and has no choice, right, then that's an unfortunate place to be. It may be better than where they were because the alternative choice was worse, but if they feel that the reason that they're doing what they're doing is because this was the only way to get it, when there's an alternative or when it gets easier, you'll have to see if they'd still do it. Did they really value, what were they really there for? Design a program and see if people still come. Right. I don't think it has anything to do with technology creating an atmosphere that's out of control. I think it would show that institution's real value to a client, and hopefully they have now more time and money in which to serve the client around things that need a human intervention as opposed to only handing cash and receiving cash. I think by the very nature of it, there will be partnerships in most countries. I mean, there are different models, as we know, for this, right? Yeah. But assuming that most governments ultimately expect there to be competition and some interconnecting platforms, where you're going to have proprietary systems. When you go back to things like our debit cards and credit cards, originally they were probably proprietary, our ATMs for our debit card. Today you can use them anywhere. All those networks that were linked, they're linked, and so is Visa's, and so is MasterCard, so is Cirrus's. They're incredibly linked, and so are they linked to the bank platforms and clearing systems. So the more we link this, governments can make payments, or we can make payments, and small producers can get paid by all kinds of counterparties, and NGOs can make payments out or receive repayments back, whether you're initiating it on a phone or from a bank account or not. The important thing is the interconnectivity of all this, too. I imagine it's, going to be who's got the most efficient and effective one for people, have confidence and go back. Most of us, it's like going to a website or anywhere where the functionality is poor, we very rarely go back. And if you think of the alternative of the old bank payments and check clearing system, all this looks a lot more efficient than what even many middle-class people were having available from their banks for a very long time in these markets. Most of us see it, if anything, much more accelerated than what we had before. Once you have more of a confidence that what I have and that's now been in a bank account or that's in an electronic form is actually something I can always get when I need it, you may be more apt to store some on there and leave some on the card and take it as you need it, which I think may just help many people to manage spending or using money differently. It's a tool. I don't, as we've, and I know yourself said, people, there's no silver bullet there. Nobody's pitching it like that, but we do think it's going to allow governments and NGOs and individuals and businesses to interact a lot more efficiently with each other and much more directly. And I really think that's a big difference for small producers in rural areas or buyers of products or anyone receiving a remittance. What a difference not to have to go through a middleman. And we know in Kenya people use it now to pay direct school fees and pay for other things too. They don't have to send the children with cash to the school. They don't have to pay it through hope somebody up country and their family is really going to use the money for what they sent it for. So I think it's very empowering for people to be able to just have more control, just as we all do.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting time because we're sort of figuring out how to use this new technology in ways that are most helpful. And sometimes our first guesses aren't right, but eventually we see what people pick up and do with it, and then we learn how to expand on that.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think it's a new tool. It's sort of, how disruptive is new technology? Maybe that's what it really is about. Many technologies are disruptive to all of us who don't want to use them or can't or haven't. But what has been very interesting is how quickly technology has been, to the extent it's been put forward, has been picked up by the poor.
What the uses
and see if you can keep up with the pace of your clients sometimes, too.
Right.
Because in the end, that may be, they may be moving faster than you are.
Right.
Or it's, and it may be seen as an asset because it may liberate them from some of the processes that our own inefficiencies have resulted in clients having to bear. Right. Our own inability to deliver cash meant they had to go find it or reach it. We didn't have any other way to do it. And so I think it's that. It's about, how does this become useful and in our own institutions, but also for our clients. And the thing is, by the time, in some countries, microfinance will embrace it very quickly. In others, maybe not. But the client will be the one to really judge ultimately, whether how you add value in the process. And I think that's good news. For better or worse, the client will decide if the trade-off. Hopefully, the client can make those choices. Was the trade-off in their interest? Did it reduce their cost? Did it add to their convenience?